you're live with Bridget Lynn Dogoff, the host of Conscious of Economics, and it is Thursday, the day after Hump Day. Just a little mini energy report. Even though the summer was a pretty intense summer and the energy was stagnant and stuck, we're moving forward over the last couple weeks, getting some forward momentum, and movement. And even though we're in Mercury retrograde for a couple more weeks. So hang in there, stay connected and hold on, and we should move right into the fall and winter in a much more positive direction, uplift of energy. Today I did a pre-record this morning with an amazing being, Lujan Matus. You'll be able to find all his information anywhere this video recording is going to be posted. If you're watching it live on YouTube, hopefully if you look below, you may see some of Lujan Matus' information. I had been following Luhan since his first book. Turns out it's a 10-year anniversary now. And his first book, I think it was Stalking Parallel Perception. And Luhan was one of those people that I hoarded his books. As soon as I got them, I didn't share them. I hid them. I very rarely gave people information about Luhan's books, which is not really like me. So I really have cherished Luhan's work for, the last 10 years. This time around, since I'm on the Project Camelot TV network, I thought last week, well, you know what? I'm going to email Luhan. He normally in the past has not really permitted many interviews or conversations for a lot of different reasons. So I really came at emailing him, I think, with a determined that he was either not going to reply to me or that he was going to completely just say, no, thank you, but, not at this time. And I think because I came at it with that kind of energy, he actually agreed to it. And it has been a 5-day process. I kind of had to move through a process of cleaning out some of my areas, my energetic body. And what I found out was that him and I were kind of, for the last 5 days, kind of floating around, trying to nail a point in time, a timeline in the present moment where we could actually meet. And I needed to clear a whole bunch of energy in order to make that happen, in order for us to come together and basically have a open conversation. And so we pre-recorded that this morning, so you're going to actually get to see it live. So right now I'm in the process of making the introduction about Luhan. Because he said yes, I was really kind of worried about how long it was going to take me energetically to get it put together, 5 months, 6 months, but it happened so rapidly. And he was so generous with his energy to try to help me through this process to get us to a point in time. And I have to give a huge shout out to my producer, Kat, because he is a stabilizer, a grounding rod. Luhan and I tried to have a conversation on Skype last night, and we were getting dropped off mine and his Skype left and right. Every 30 seconds to 2 minutes. It was impossible to really have a conversation because of our energy was all over the map. But this morning when we got onto the pre-record, and my web guy, my producer, connected up Luhan to him, then connected me up to him, and was this great grounding source. And we did not even lose Luhan during the whole conversation. And the conversation with Luhan, he was so generous with his time, could have gone on for hours. So it took some time to get here. It took time to get Luhan up and on in the present moment, get us all kind of lined up in the present, in the now, in order to make this happen. Luhan is a true time continuum and energy bender. He's probably an avatar, maybe one of two on the planet now. Amazing individual. He is a traveler of the dreaming worlds. Maybe even we could call him a veteran of the dreaming worlds. We're lucky to have him and his information on our planet, and we're lucky to be able to access it. So one of the things I'm going to ask people to do is I'm going to ask you, if you're watching this and you're getting ready to move into the recorded version, to stop crazy, your crazy life or whatever's doing, turn your phone on, turn the text messages off, and take in some really deep breaths. Kind of center yourself and bring yourself into this moment that you're going to be able to share with Luhan. Luhan creates transmissions through speaking in his energy field. And so there's always something you're going to hear that you're going to understand in your own way and own terms. And you could probably listen to this interview over and over and over again, and you're probably going to get something completely different each time, because that's what his energy does. His energy moves and morphs and is constantly transmitting new signals in order for us to grow. So today you're going to get a gift that Luhan gave of his time and his energy. And I also want to thank Luhan, when he watches this, for really helping me through some big obstacles that I had been dealing with and fighting with. So in the course of the 5 days of us trying to get it together and get it all in the same spot, I also went through a major healing and transmutation of my own, and I'm pretty darn grateful for that. The biggest thing that I got from the conversation I had with Luhan this morning was his love and his heart, his joy and his laughter. And I'm going to be taking that with me wherever I go. And I have been walking on a cloud all day. His energy regenerated me and rejuvenated me, gave me some really amazing new things to think about, to be, to exist in. And of course, he said that he would love to come on the show again in the future. So look for him in a couple months. We're going to try to get another interview with him up and going. He offers some really good tips, some sound advice, moving forward. And like I said, just center yourself, listen with your heart, listen with your mind, listen with your emotional body. And I hope that you, the viewer, get as much out of this that I have. Before we're going to go into the pre-record, my producer is actually going to roll a short film. Luhan refers back to this video several times during our conversation, so I wanted to actually present it to you at the very get-go so that you could see it before it goes into our interview. And so you're not going to see me again. You're going to see me on the interview, which was pre-recorded. And I wish you the best day, and love and light to all of you. And I just want to say thank you to my new friend, Lujan Matus, and my brother. So, Aho, thanks so much. And yeah, still emotional about the whole thing. So anyway, thank you so much. And producer, roll that video. Thanks. Enjoy.
Of those dreaming experiences in terms of learning to do what I did, and basically, dependency is one of the crucial lessons that I learned by being with my benefactors, and knowing that when the end is the end, then you commence your journey by yourself. So there's no dependence in terms of me accessing any information from them anymore as part of my beingness, because that dependency would not give any credibility to the truth that's to be spoken at the moment. You know, that's actually continually escaping us. So by accessing those particular dream realms at the time that I did when I was writing my first book, and a little bit of my second book, and third and fourth book, mainly just is in reference to actually the experiences that I went through, but nothing to do with being dependent upon them. So when you say dreaming, when you don't have a dependency on that, I don't go into dream with any sort of forced fixed idea, because there's no idea there, because there's no thinking about it. There's just a matter of being sleeping and waking. So there's no indulgence in saying, well, I'm going to go into the second attention and achieve this and that. It's basically by not wanting that, the second attention comes into your waking world, and you become totally infused within your visions that impact you on the level of just say deja vu.
That's an awesome answer.
I'm not going to. I still think you're a pussycat, though.
What?
I called you cat in the beginning. Isn't that crazy? But anyway.
I know. Well, that's my producer, so there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so so one of the things that this is what I've been learning at, and we're having a conversation and a dialogue because we haven't really. We talked a little bit last night and mostly by email, so we're learning to have a vocabulary together, right? Kind of an understanding. So I'm just going to kind of approach it that way, so that we understand each other a little bit better and try to bridge some of that awareness, awareness, language, and vocabulary a little bit. Mm-hmm. One of the things that my teachers that I've been involved with, to kind of bring it into maybe a lower scale for people to understand, is that my training in shamanism and in the dreaming aspects was about, because our bodies, and we come into this world, this illusion, we're in a separated thing. We have a left brain and a right brain, and they're two different personalities, and they operate different sides of our body. So we come in to this plane with this body that's already in a separated state. So like the right brain rules the night dream, when you're asleep and you're dreaming, and that's why you can fly and you can do all these magical things, and you can travel to other places and go visit your friends and see how they're doing. And then you have the left brain that rules the waking dream. And in the teachings that I've been trained in, the key is to be able to bring both sides of the brain together, bring some of that right magical omnipresence, omnipotence into the waking dream, and then being able to bring some of our technical abilities and structure from the left brain into the night dream, so that we have a little bit more control over what's happening to us and being able to navigate. So that way, no matter whether you're asleep or you're awake, you're operating in the same dream structure, I guess, at all times. Do you have anything to maybe add to that, or?
Yeah. You actually have no control, and you can never perceive that you have control at any point in time. You can never decide that you're going to have control of your dreams, and you can never really decide that you're going to have control of your waking reality. You have to be witness to whatever occurs right in front of you, because there is no plan to be made to decide what you want, because once it happens, it's gone. There's no control.
Ooh, that's good. Okay. Okay. So do you have any, okay, well, truth is truth, right? So, we,
Bucking
you know,
horse, remember? Bucking horse.
that's okay. I like it. I like the truth of being. I'm always getting, with my First Nation teachers, they're always like, clobbering me in the head with a brick all the time. They're like, pay attention, be awake, be aware. So, okay, so I guess the key then is to, like you said, to bear witness, to just be witness to, I guess, the ebb and flow of energies and what's going on, paying attention at all times. Is there anything that you specifically tell people or teach people to be able to be a better witness and maybe let go of control?
Yeah. Basically, what I do with my students is ask them not to lie and to be absolutely present. Yeah, in the circumstance, so that they can not have a dialogue with themselves, which is wholly and solely out of the context of the situation, because it goes nowhere. It's just the reflection of their own subjectivity. If they have the courage to put it on the table, then it can actually be seen and then shared. And once it's shared, then they can choose to see the truth in it or the non-truth in their application. And usually the body is very, very fast. So if you're dealing with someone who's speaking straight from their heart, they can actually see someone scripting. And you get a feeling in your body when you're with somebody, and you can always be a little bit ahead if you're listening to the voice coming from your heart straight out to the circumstances. So what arrives inside your center is the feeling of the person that's with you, and you speak to that feeling. And as you speak to that feeling, you're even listening to what you're saying. And you watch the micro gestures because they govern your eyes. So you look at the person's application in every single aspect of their beingness towards the circumstances, and they want to be in their truth. So they have to discover how to be in their truth by firstly not having a conversation with themselves, but to have a conversation with the person in the room. Firstly. And this will bring up their fears and their apprehensions, and then you very gently guide the person to the reality of what they're really doing, so that they can get out of that lie. Because if you're not talking to the person in front of you with the real feelings you've got, you're actually not being honest.
All right, that's very good. I'm just kind of taking that all in. Okay, so one of the things, I had to do some personal work, in order to make this interview happen, for us to be able to connect this morning. And I'm just going to be totally honest, I had to work through some issues of fraud. We talked a little bit about that last night.
Yeah.
And what it was, the tension and what it was doing in my body. In order to
fraud, bring a context to the word fraud.
Yeah, just feeling context to fraud. That, whenever I like step forward to be, my really authentic self, or to try to be impeccable and be in the moment, like there's been this, fraud sign that pops up, and, I can feel it inside my body.
When you're talking, I have to cut in, because, you're going into this really, really strong rhetoric towards yourself. I don't think you're fraudulent at all. I think you've just got a little bit of doubt because you've had to butt your head with the people who don't believe what you're saying. So they constantly challenge you to be beneath who you're meant to be. So the voice of fraudulence comes up, and this is I don't believe actually, when I was listening to you this morning, we were getting cut off from Skype quite a lot, and it was very frustrating. But I could actually hear you, and you were very, very clear, and you were reading me very, very well. I could feel your eyes going around me. and I could feel your eyes going within me. And because Skype was cutting off so much, I was really feeling inside of myself, why? Why would you feel that way when I can feel you coming into my space and searching my field? This is very rare. Not many people get into somebody else's space, thousands of miles away, and actually, while you're listening to my voice, you're watching me. And while you're watching me, you're not talking to yourself. This is not fraudulent. This is very, very truthful. And you may discover that other people don't like that, so they'll try and hide from you.
Yeah, well, and so I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you. No, I mean, letting me be able to interview you kind of in a raw way so that people can, see this, like it's really authentic and real. So, and it's really given me, a kind of a greater confidence and really being able to look at, being considerably different on the planet and, being okay with it and seeing how that moves and flows in different aspects of my life. And like you said, witnessing and paying attention to it. So it's not leading my next move. You know what I mean? Like I'm not leading my next move from this very insecure tension place within my body, but leading, forward more with love and peace and, maybe not so much confidence, but faith, I guess, maybe more in myself and the people around me.
Yeah. But, it's a dangerous position to put yourself in, the one you're in right now. But it depends on the person who speaks to you will actually determine what feelings are going to be contained within your field. Because if there's a little bit of insecurity, then maybe the person who's got their perception on you can shift you by feeling something contrary to what you're saying, and you may be aware of that, which alerts the insecurity, because we communicate on frequency, and everything
Yeah, no, lately I've been really getting that I get what I'm holding on to, right? I get what the tension level is in my body and how, and, we can put a word like fraud to it, but it's really creating a vibration.
Yeah, frequency.
Mm-hmm. And then people pick it up and they look at it as weakness. And so sometimes they're more abusive towards me, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm learning, every day. Okay, so, no, I just love you to death. Like, I just really feel like we're already, fast becoming family here, right? And I really appreciate it.
You've got to turn the tables now and push on me, okay?
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna put the attention back on you now. Okay, so one of the things that you were telling me in your email is that you get up and you do 6 hours of practice every morning.
Yeah.
What kind of practices do you do? I'm just super curious about that. Okay. I was like laying in bed going 6 hours. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's quite intense. I used to a little bit longer, and when I teach in the afternoon, that's another 3 hours. It's kind of broken because when I'm teaching, I'm not up for the whole 3 hours. But when I get up in the morning, I've got sets of practices. The first practice goes for an hour. Second practice goes for a couple of hours. The third practice goes for another couple of hours. And I just go through all of my forms, all the basic practices to keep my physical body very strong, keep my energetic body very clean and strong, and my bones, ligaments, tendons. I do everything because, and it's low band pi. It's an energy cultivation system which works on the Fibonacci spiral or coiling. It's dragon coiling. It's very, very difficult to even describe it. I know I've given you a little bit of a video of just doing a little bit of this is called Shengungs, or the telekinetic coiling. Now, this is just in that video, when Michael was taking that particular film, The reason why the flower that was at the base of my feet moved when after I'd finished and I'd slowed it all down was because of the kinetic energy or the magnetism or you could call it the gravity from my lower dantian had suddenly spun out, and the flower spun in the same way. So the reason why the flower spun is because the energy that you see that flower doing when it's a seedling. You've ever seen time-lapse photography, and the seed is spiraling up towards the sunlight, and it's shifting back and forward, and it's swaying back and forwards. Now, the reason why the flower or the frangipani I had at the base of my feet, Michael put it there. He put two candles, one on the right, one on the left, and he put the frangipani right at my feet. I thought that was very lovely. Anyway, so when the flower was facing up this way, automatically when I'd done all the dragon coiling, that the flower just acknowledged back the same principle, because everything in the universe moves with this mathematical equation. And when the reason why I do all the training in the morning, probably to get to your question, I'm probably a very long-winded answer, is that I have to do what I say I do. I can't ask anybody to do anything that I don't do, and I feel very responsible, and I really enjoy everything that I practice, and I feel empty if I don't do it, because it's I'm actually the only person on the planet who's got this information. So if I don't practice it, it's going to be lost. Now the reason for that is that Love Empire has a particular signature to it. It's called the empty force or void power. Now, when I'm practicing this, it switches me off completely. Now, when I received this information from my benefactor, and I received a certain amount of his consciousness, the reason that he could do this is because he was immersed in the omnipresent void power that he transformed from when he passed on and into Bardo, and he was capable of sustaining his consciousness with two other people. Now, when this occurred, it gave him the ability to grab me hundreds of years later, which from a linear perspective is virtually impossible to comprehend. But if anyone reads my first book, it's it's explained very, very well. Now, the reason why I practice so diligently is that if I don't practice what can't be remembered, and this is a very, very difficult statement to understand, if I don't practice what can't be remembered, I will not be able to produce it. So it's because there's so much empty force in it that, or Ling Kong Jing, or void power. If I don't practice it, it will just leave me. So that's why I do such diligent practice. Because if I don't do it, it's gone. And I want to have the ability to take it to another lifetime if that's necessary. I don't know whether that answers your question.
No, it was, no. No, you beyond answered it. Okay, so let's bring it in a little bit so that maybe, well, I want people who are new to this kind of thing to kind of absorb it. And so a lot of this work that you're doing with the what did you call it? Telekinetics?
Yeah, the telekinetics is only a byproduct, actually. It's nothing to be concentrated on. The basic thing about Ling Kong Jing, or the empty force or void power, is that once you concentrate on one element, which is a byproduct of it, then the byproduct will take you down an avenue that's irreversible. So when you get to a certain level of proficiency, you never concentrate on what appears. Like when telekinesis is something that happens to me all the time, but I don't concentrate on it, because if I concentrate on it, I get lost in that, and then my whatever I don't have will then become something that I don't want. In terms of concentrating on something which means nothing really, because the only thing that means anything is open communication from one individual's heart to another individual's heart, which becomes collective. This is the only thing that's of importance. Nothing else matters.
Okay, so, well, I want to give people kind of an idea here. Now, just kind of because, there's going to be people out there who are going to have a really hard time wrapping their head around this. And, as you know, I'm
Yeah.
filling you out while you're talking. So I'm like getting in your energy field and I'm feeling it like resonate in my body. So when
Yeah.
you're talking about that whole, the, the practice and you were explaining it, I could feel it like in my heart area and I could
Yeah.
feel like the energy like pushing me back and forth. I almost went to sleep. I was like, ooh, that's so great. Oh, so nice to start out in the morning in just a peaceful state. Okay. Okay, so a lot of these, I'm not saying your practices, but a lot of, in terms of the modern world, they were called magical passes. A lot of shamans from certain lines, mostly from South America, been doing these practices over 10,000 years. Some of them are really old. Some of these shamans have learned how to go through time continuums and shifted and moved their whole bodies into the dreaming worlds, and they come through and they access very rarely people like yourself. And teach you some of these things that aren't on the planet. So a lot of the magical passes and these things are good to learn. There's always someplace good to start with them. But what you are doing are probably the most ancient of some of these practices that, like you said, they're not on this planet at this time, that you are the only one that is doing them so that they can stay in the energy field and stay, with us in this plane of existence. So these magical passes were created to help keep the body strong, also to generate power so that our bodies could live indefinitely, and also to clear any kind of emotional debris that keeps us from living in the moment and being a witness and, not so much reacting to it. Do you have anything that you'd like to add to that?
Well, when you do the movements, and there's very definite signatures in terms of the mudras that are applied. And I know it's very, very difficult to understand the word mudra because you go to a yogic mudra or it's more like a Tibetan hand gesture when they're praying and chanting. The mudra is a little bit bigger, but it sends a frequency or a signal. Now, when you send a frequency or a signal, just say that there's 10,000 light years away. There's a frequency or a signal which is born of the same energy. As soon as you send this frequency and signal, the feeling and the nurturing and the understanding of that particular time-space continuum will immediately be alerted, and you will immediately be contacted by this. So you transport the nurturing, loving energy of understanding straight into your biofield. So it bypasses a lot of process maybe that we need to go through to evolve beyond the imprisonment that we're all experiencing at the moment, actually. And the love vampire is particularly to call the frequencies that open up the heart and lead people to come to the conclusion that genuine communication and honesty within that very, very broad spectrum is very, very necessary at this moment in time, because we need to have self-governance. And we need to stand up and realize that maybe something that we understand isn't really understood, because we're not totally educated or self-empowered enough to stand up and say, "Hey, I need to tell you the truth, and I need to say I don't really like what that is because that doesn't feel good, and we need to change that." And when that changes, the spectrum of the whole world will begin to change if this type of communication occurs. And whether it be with small minor conflicts, understanding is what we need to come to in terms of real communication, in terms of devotion to each other. And devotion to each other will bring us to the larger world arena. and being only accepting of that which is really good for us. Good food, good water, good education, no abuse on our planet, all these sorts of things need to come into alignment, because we're heading down a very, very perilous path at the moment. And it all comes down to understanding and loving one another with so much genuine care that we have to look out and just change everything. Even what you wash your clothes with in your washing machine. No chemicals into your body. All that.
No, you're exactly right. These are the kind of things that, I try to talk to people about and try to really bring on my show. And one of the things for me that, has really been coming up lately, I'm like you. If there's a teacher or somebody that needs to teach me something, or the information needs to be brought to me, I don't channel, and beings don't want to channel through me that bring me this information. I like to explain to people that if a being wants to, or a person through different kinds of timelines, or, if we want to call it galactic, or people traveling through the dreaming timeline, if they want to give you some information, they're going to show up and give you that information. They're going to give you that information like in the dreaming state, or they'll take over your computer and talk to you, or if they want to, they'll take over your TV and talk to you. And so a lot of the information, I think, for me, that's in the public, that is being channeled through people, I tell people to be very cautious about this information, that the information, that if it's truthful and honest, will come to you. It will find you, and it will manifest right directly in front of you. It won't want to be in your body, and it won't want to control your body, and it won't want to blare itself out onto humanity. And so that goes back to a lot of the religions. Like there's so many great religions that had shamanism at the base of it, like the traditional Tibetan Buddhism, the yogis from India, the shamans, the dreaming shamans, a lot of the First Nation people, the original people, the Aborigines, except for it's been tainted to a certain level because of the need for the forces to control where the energy's flowing so that they can use it. So would you like to kind of talk about that?
Well, this is a really, really interesting subject, because every single individual is personally empowered to do exactly what you're saying. But you remember I asked you to read the architectural orbs. This is a very, very interesting subject in my first book, and the reason why I asked you to read this is because you've actually asked the question which is aligned with that. Now, every single person has the capacity, through being silent of mind, and totally openly witnessing their circumstance in front of them, have access to alternate timelines, which is them, which is the circumstance interdimensionally cascading through the human awareness to other dimensions, and then reappearing back in the linear timeline that they exist in. Now, this is happening all the time. So when somebody sees a circumstance right in front of them, let's go to say the American Indian. Just say that somebody has a wonderful experience and a deep wisdom, and they come to the group, and they're in the teepee, and everybody's aware that when this person speaks, they begin to see visual imagery in front of their eyes, inside of their inner mind, which is actually outside of them, which is produced by the story that the person is telling. And as the person tells the story and their realization and the power that they came to through that seeing, then everybody in the room has comparative insights in comparison to their state of awareness, but it's communally shared. So it's very, very powerful, because once a statement's made and once a word is heard from one individual that has personal power, every individual in that room hears the same message in a way which reinforces it like a different flower. One will be a blue flower, one will be a red flower, one will be a white flower. And each of them sing the same frequency, but from their own perspective, in terms of actually understanding that truth and harmoniously walking out of that communion with a collective consciousness toward what they need to do to actually evolve into their next position, because they all collectively know the truth that the shaman brought belonged to everybody. Yeah. And and as that occurs, the most amazing thing that maybe modern man has to come to terms with is that if he can shut off his internal dialogue and stop talking to himself, stop having this very selective perspective which is nagging at him all the time, or her all the time, then the heart opens up, and the light of someone's intuitive input, even if they're just standing and looking at you, you're aware that they're having an insight because you have an insight because they are. And this insight travels inside of you, and because you don't have this big slamming door, which is called your internal dialogue, stopping it from entering your heart. If you're open, it'll go into your heart and then become interdimensionally interdispersed. And as it does so, it gains gravity, because it goes from through the third and fourth dimensional access into a fifth dimensional time-space continuum, which has way more power. And as it rotates out of your dimensional matrix into the person that you're gazing at, it gains more gravity. So we gain more power. And this is what has been stopped in all of our communications as human beings, because we've been taught to talk about each other, we've been taught to talk to ourselves, we've been taught to listen to a radio and to watch TV, instead of listening to the person who's right in front of us, giving us the most profound message that there ever could be given, because that is the only position that we've got in our time-space continuum that's of utmost importance, is the person right in front of you that's actually listening to you and waiting to hear what you've got to say. And if you've got nothing to say, then your beingness supports in its rightful position where it should be, where it could be, where it can be, and where it will emerge next.
No, I just love it. I'm just having the best morning. I'm like surfing with you as you speak, like going into the fifth dimension, and I'm coming back. Okay, so
now, there's one thing I've got to say now. You know how you said, why do you practice so much? Gravity. Now, gravity is a very, very interesting factor in low band pi. Gravity is a very, very interesting thing that you'll see in a shaman. Gravity is something you feel. They feel like they're a planet. You just can't do anything but spin around them. This gravity is personal power. This gravity has the capacity to speak on your behalf, and you're listening to what you're saying. This gravity has the capacity to see somebody while you're listening to them and watching them while you're listening to them. This gravity, or this fifth dimensional aspect of that's out of the three-dimensional realm that we're kind of rotating in. There's more gravity outside of it than there is inside of it, and the magic of a shaman is to bring the gravity or the dimensional matrices into the waking world, so that your imagery, instead of being there while you're in your sleep, become imagery right in front of you as a pocket or an announcement of information that delivers the path that you may walk if you're careful enough to listen. And you can't see it, you can't hear it, but you saw it, and you've listened to it, and it's touched you, even though you can't find it with your hands.
I know. It's exactly, well, it's like, telling you about some of my first experiences, because my great grandmother was was not an indigenous shaman, but she was really powerful growing up. But the first, Lakota Sioux medicine woman I ever worked with, apprenticeship, I used to black out all the time because, I'd be in a room with her, and then she'd start, traveling and working on people, and then all that energy that was coming back into the room literally would just shock me. I mean, I remember crawling for the door to get out of the room and just be blacked out.
This blackout's very interesting, but there was one thing I heard you say.
What?
Which is one thing I heard you say. she wasn't an indigenous elder. Now, there's something happening on our planet at the moment. And the primary governance of my awareness is not Western. So I don't look in terms of who I am. So I'm not appearing as a traditional Chinese individual. I'm appearing as something else. So if your relative does do this, she's rightfully in her position because she appears as something she's not, which makes her 10 times more powerful than somebody that has arrived in a position that they're told they're meant to. But someone who arrives into a position that belongs to them and you can't identify with that, this is traumatic. And this is where all humanity is going. A Chinese won't be Chinese, a Western person won't be Western person. There'll be many dialects spoken in one language through different individuals, and different people will be able to see the shine that's the eternal wisdom coming through different individuals. They're not Tibetan. You understand?
No, you're talking about me. No.
Yeah, exactly.
And I could feel it in my, and so I just want to tell people who are watching this, you may want to go back and you may want to rewatch this over and over again. And you may want to create a space in order to listen to what Luhan is saying, because he's also sending out a transmission while he's talking about this information. And because he's transmitting things that are helping me heal, I'm also transmitting this information out onto the world. So you can accept this transformation of energy, vibration, which is information, and let it heal your body and let it heal some of the things that are going on with you and help you to clear and become clearer in the moment about many things that he's talking about. So this is a huge opportunity. This is a huge gift for all of us that he is coming on to my show today and
You're so beautiful.
being with us. Well, it's true. I know for a long time you wouldn't even talk to people by email. So the fact that we now have you to be able to speak openly is a gift. I look at it as a huge gift because I've been following you for quite a while, and I've just really so been in alignment with you and your information that you're bringing, because you are holding the space, because you are, like you said, doing the work every day, right? You are participating in the, gravity and the telekinetics and all these different things, really holding the space for that information to stay here on this planet for us, and so thank you very much.
Well, you're so lovely.
Okay, so let's okay, so another thing that I would like to bring forward, because I always, because of my fraud programming, I always get in conflict with what I call people sometimes that fall into a category of spiritual elitists. Mm-hmm. And they feel, and this is not my experience. My experience is coming here to this planet to do the work that I came here to do. And it hasn't been easy. And one of the places that I've landed is working more within the shamanic realms, because it suits me, because it gives me all of the 4 cornerstones that I need, physical practice, spiritual practice, mental practice, emotional practice that helps me to elevate, helps me to be more grounded, helps me to expand, contract. It helps me to generate power to overcome illness or whatever else. So my experience on the planet has not been that I can just, think a good, happy thought and everything's going to be okay. And for me, I think that some of this information that's out on the market is kind of misleading, that there has to be a point of personal responsibility and practice that's not going to be easy, and some kind of discipline that's really going to help to move you forward and through things and being able to see what the illusions really are, whether they're projected by yourself or they're projected from others. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, look, this is a very, very interesting subject, and you've touched on something very, very special. If your listeners have done Tai Chi, or they've done yoga, or they've even just communicated with their partner honestly. Now, what we're talking about is very, very special. Just say that your partner puts their hand gently down on your knee. When they put their hand gently down, your eyes immediately go up and meet theirs, and the gesture is then communicated as something very, very beautiful. So a practice has to have within it the ability to bring quiet to it. So when somebody loves you and they give you a pure gesture, you quietly witness to the omnipresence which is reaching through them to you in kindness, and that frequency fills you with love and fills you with abundance. Now, the same thing with a practice is that your practice must bring you into a state where you feel the magnetism, where you feel the pressure of what you're doing communing with you, coming to you, making itself available in terms of you feeling it. Now, this gesture is the only thing that's of importance. So practice is everything. The way you put a cup down, the way you close a door, the way you do everything that surrounds you is fully encompassing your being. It's your pure gestures. And this is the most important thing. So if you do your practice and you just say, I'm doing my practice, and we couldn't sleep, and I get up and I'm going through it, and I'm feeling like, oh, my body's so tired and everything, but I still do the gestures, and I still go through, and I go through the feeling of feeling fatigued. But then I get to the end, and the effort that I made brings deep satisfaction inside of my body, because I had the power to stand up in my tiredness when it told me to lay down. And this is what being devoted is all about. You let go of yourself to be part of something else. And when you talk to someone that needs to listen to you, or you need to listen to them, you let go of yourself so they can enter you, and you can speak kindnesses on their behalf to release them of whatever they're going through. These are gestures. So if your practice is pure, you empty yourself of yourself. So there's so much more space inside of you. And when there's so much more space, then everybody has the chance to come inside you. And as they come inside you, you become them. And when you become them, you begin to speak the words they need to hear, because you love yourself and because you're devoted to them.
And that's the true meaning of being one, right?
or being two, depending on how many people are inside you when you're talking to.
Yeah, some days I have like 10, right?
Yeah.
And who are you? And who are you? And who are you?
It's actually it's our natural state of being. The largest gesture we can make, and the most fraudulent gesture that we've got, is our internal dialogue. The purest gesture we've got is to allow someone to enter us and allow us to feel them, and then give back those feelings in the true words of how they have entered you, and you give back the purest gesture is to give back the truth of their entry back to them, so that they can look and commune with that and then give it back. So true communication is one of the strongest gestures, and you get to this true communication by being true to yourself. And in terms of the toil of your practice, because Kung Fu means to practice. It means never-ending practice, and life is a never-ending practice. You get up every morning, I get up in the morning and I do my stuff and I open up the door. I'm full of blinds and I shake the blankets and I get my wife out of bed. And as she's getting out of bed, I'm making I'm making the bed. So everything's just a beautiful gesture. So you're supportive in everything that you do. So you just everything becomes very, very perfect in a very, very beautiful routine that can't be communicated as a stagnant reality. Because when you love and look after somebody, or when you love and support somebody, it doesn't matter whether the routine's the same. It's a matter of whether you can pick them up when they're tired and get them on to the day feeling supported. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, no, I read this great book like 20 years ago, and I'm sorry, listeners, I have no idea what the book's called or who wrote it. I mean, that information vanishes, but the message that stayed with me was this monk wrote this book about being in a monastery for basically 25 years, and he decided to leave the monastery because he didn't really feel like he had gotten what he was supposed to get. This is actually a true story. Mm-hmm. And when he left, he realized that he wanted to come back because he went out into like he went out into the real world. And what he realized that he learned was exactly what you just said. He learned how to shut the doors with intention and quietness and peace and love, so that every door he shut was with peace and love, that nothing was slammed, that the footsteps weren't harsh, creating vibrations of harshness. And this was just the structure of the monastery, that it was about quietness. This is how they were trained, but he had no idea until he went to the outside world, like how significant this training was. And that most people in the outside world didn't do it. They didn't try to restrain their energy, and not allow their bulldozing kind of energy to bulldoze, through life. And so I just remember like reading that and thinking, wow, no wonder a lot of times we're traumatized by noise. Even birds. They say, the jet engines and stuff like that scare birds, when it goes into that boom, that sonic boom, it can literally make a bird have a heart attack and die.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. And this is a very, very simple fundamental truth. And it's the most important thing. It's the most important thing. You walk gently, you talk gently, and you stand strong when you need to be strong, and you yield when you need to yield. You become aware of all the elements around you and care for them as much as you would care for yourself, because the minute an arrow flies from the bow, it's already struck your own heart before it gets to its target.
Okay, so I have a question from a listener. We know who that listener is. But he wants me to ask you a question. He says, what are the main dials that you use to keep yourself where you want to be in your life?
Dials?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Wait, there's more information coming. Like knobs. So he's looking at it like from a technical standpoint, like technology. Like I've got my volume knob and I've got my reverberation knob. Maybe like, how do you dial yourself in? Okay. On a daily basis? Like, what do you do? Your essential qualities.
Okay, your essential qualities.
Your essential qualities.
Okay. Basically, by having the idea of even perceiving there are dials to turn to make you adapt to your environment, is it you adapt You just wake up, and then your frequencies read exactly what's there at that particular moment. You've got no choice but to live the moment that you arrive in. You can't decide that I'm going to dial into this frequency because it just won't be the case. So you witness to what's inside of you. You witness to what you're experiencing, even though you're intimately connected to it. You watch it very gently, the same that a Buddha watches at heartbeat while he has his eyes closed, very still. And there is no way to decide what is going to be in the next day, and there's no way even to decide what is going to be here in this particular moment. So there's no way to really control that. But in essence, being devoted means that you'll be subject to alternate frequencies which you become familiar with, or they may even challenge you to actually watch yourself even more deeply. So that it's eternity itself, or life itself, that tunes you in to it and watches your response as you watch yourself doing it. So there's no way to have an attunement that is perfect. Like, I get up every morning and I do my stuff. It's very soft. It's very, very beautiful, very dynamic, and parts of it I'm sweating like crazy. But it's being devoted to the hard work that actually defines what you will discover, because you're not trying to discover anything. You're in the midst of your work. And when you're in the midst of your work, that is going to challenge you, no matter where you are. If you're hunting a trail in the forest, or if you're walking down the street, you're still going to be confronted with different things that you have to adjust to. And a hunter always adjusts to his or her environment in accordance to what is facing them. So if I see a tiger, I'll stop. And if it comes towards me, I'll run. So basically, it's just say that I'm in a rainforest, and this actually did happen one time. And I'm doing my practice, and I'm very gentle, and there's a monkey watching me in a tree. And I look up and I catch the monkey's eyes, and he catches me catching him. Now, from that point onwards, he would come every single morning, whether I was outside or not, and bring all of his friends to shake the trees and say, look, this guy knew I was watching him. Let's harass him for the next 6 months. These monkeys were really fun, but the thing is that you're always going to be challenged. What makes itself available. So I'd go outside and meet them, and they would be uproar. That would be really, really strange behavior. And then they would go, and then a couple of days they would come back. So there was no way for me to decide that should be or should not be. It was a consequence of me catching him watching me, which he's not used to. I don't know whether that answers your question.
No.
No?
Well, it wasn't my question, but hopefully that did answer the question. Well, in a lot of the First Nation stories and information, they say that the world around us is more conscious, that everything is a living being, and you have to make friends, right? You have to build a relationship, even with a plant, to use its medicine. Yeah. So it's like you looking at the monkey and you say, "Oh, hi, Mr. Monkey," and so you create you bring the consciousness and the conscious level of that monkey to the experience. It's like turning that switch on and allowing that monkey's consciousness to come in and even teach us something about what's going on around us, or show us something. And when we don't have that level of consciousness to look at a plant and say, "Oh, hi, Mr. Plant," then the plant doesn't have a relationship with us, and so it's medicine. Even if we use the medicine, it's not fully utilizable, I guess. I don't think that's a word, but
yeah. Now let's have a look. Now, just say that there was a shaman that took out three 3 young Indians, and they had to teach them to be respectful. Now, the only thing that the shaman is going to teach the initiates in the long run is to be aware that when the bow leaves the arrow, it's already struck your own heart before it brings the deer down. So that the ceremony in terms of communion is basically to teach the young men that are like wild horses that they have to respect and learn to really commune with their environment, and then it becomes automatic to absolutely every single being that they meet. And you're exactly right. Every single being has to be met with respect, otherwise it'll all turn against you.
And that's what we're dealing with the planet right now.
Exactly.
You know, these conscious beings have come from other worlds, and they don't have to participate if they don't want to. And so one of the things that I've been really getting over the last year, because I've just been doing tons of ceremony, you know, for me, that really helps me as a practice. And one of the things that it keeps showing up is that we like to have our ego in this world, and we like to think that, you know, we're causing an extinction, right? Humans are causing extinction, but what if it's that the trees are done participating with us, you know, because they came here as conscious beings to participate in a whole experience, and humans are not getting it. And humans are trampling these beings and don't want their medicine. And there's no reason for these beings to participate here anymore. And so at some point in time, they're going to just leave our world and go to their world where they originated from. And so those are, you know, that's something that I think about, you know, like the trees are not, I mean, you know, we could say that the chemicals and all these other things, because of each person's individual responsibility towards all life, is dumbed down or not expressed. But it also, these beings also have a consciousness and can make choices to not participate anymore, you know, not to be part of this experience.
Yeah, non-participation is probably the key word there. There was a time in Costa Rica, and this happened to me only a couple of times in my life. And you're talking about trees, and I had a very, very strong experience. I was outside doing my practice, a very, very soft part of the practice, and the trees participated in that event, and it was probably the most joyous and the most fulfilling experience I've ever had. They leant towards me with all the energy, and then they withdrew. So they just left me with a glimpse of themselves at a particular moment. And this is what we're missing, really, is their participation in all the units of information that we can possess as human beings in terms of frequency. And that was one of the most, beautiful experiences I've ever had. And to realize how much the beings of our planet don't participate with us anymore. That was a very, very clear signal that we are kind of wretched at the moment, you know, because
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. I love that. I love trees. And the only thing that keeps me in this world is trees. Like, you know, amidst all of the rest of it, like just participating with trees and just the consciousness and the things that they offer are, yeah. So I just love that. Okay, so let's see. Well, I just want to, okay, so if you were going to work with people who have not really had a lot of shamanism practice, who have not been involved with these kinds of practices and some of the awareness and consciousness that you're bringing, what would you tell them to like work on, or are there any kind of basic practices that you like to teach people starting out, and also in that to reduce the fear? Because, you know, a lot of people who are going to be watching this may have some type of organized religion background, and a lot of this kind of stuff, you know, causes a little bit of fear when they bump up against it. So if you could talk about how to ease that, and also how to start practicing something.
Oh my gosh, I bumped into a Christian only a couple of weeks ago, and there were a group of them. They were talking about what they needed to do, and I overheard a few things that they were saying, and I stood up and spoke to them, and there is no difference between a Christian and a shaman really when they're in their truth. It was basically talking about incorrect behavior and what you should do with it. And I repeated something which is in the Bible, which I remember because I don't read. Basically, that Jesus turned around and asked who was touching his robe without his permission. And so basically, it was don't take what you shouldn't. Ask me and I'll give it to you. That's basically what the parable was. So, but the story or the visual image was that who is touching my robe without my permission. So basically, it's not to do with guilt or anything like that. It's to do with asserting yourself correctly in a circumstance to ask what's happening and to get an answer, and whatever you want, I will give it to you. So basically, this is really shamanism. Shamanism revolves around true communication. So it's not really frightening, but it's only scary if you've got things hidden inside of you that shamanism will automatically bring out the inconsistencies that one has difficulty facing. And this is usually a very, very beautiful thing. A lot of my students there, within the first 10, 15 minutes, are just crying their eyes out because they're confronted with their feelings. And then I said, well, this is shamanism. You find your truth, you find your heart, and you find how to proceed within that. And I give them movements to help them perpetuate the gesture of kindness and being totally involved in what they're doing. 100%. It's just like you said with the Buddhist monk leaving the temple. It's exactly the same. It's that they come into a room where no doors are slammed and no heels are brought down on the floor with control. There's no feeling of guilt. There's nothing but watching what's right in the room, and then you discover what's not meant to be there. And when you realize it's not meant to be there, then your teacher or the shaman shows you what covers your eyes in terms of not allowing you to see what you're meant to see. And these are very, very simple things. So if people are to enter shamanism, they enter the chambers of their heart and forego their mind and become totally cognizant of the unifying factor, which is their body. And everybody knows what this is. If you love your husband or you love your wife, you love your children, you know that in that single embrace where you pick somebody up, where you hold somebody tenderly and you're truly there, that's communion. Now, within that communion, that's shamanism. And you find your honesty, you find your devotion within that without any entrapments. No strings attached. That's all shamanism really is communion. You go to your plant to get your medicine. You must commune with that plant by understanding that it's helping you help yourself. And it came there, and it appeared there. It's like when lots and lots of people have got, what do they call it? That disease that's around the planet at the moment, and a lot of people in America have got it, Lyme disease. Now, where Lyme disease is the most prolific, there's a plant growing really heaps and heaps, and it's a weed. And it's called knotweed, and knotweed kills these amoebas. So we've got a dilemma. We don't even know how to ask, and the weeds are growing whether the strongest disease, whether most people are sick with this disease. So even though we're not communing, the planet is still saying, hey, here's your answer. So we're still being embraced and we're still being loved, even though the world has withdrawn.
That's a huge point that when I'm working with people, because I also do farming, I went back to school to bring in the biodynamic farming component into my life, to add curatives to soil, natural loving curatives that actually help soil and help plants. And it's, I call it big love. Biodynamic is big love for the soil.
Yeah.
And plants will grow exactly what you said. There was a yard I was looking at, and the neighbor was like, "Oh yeah, look at that guy's yard. It's really terrible. He has all those awful tall weeds over there." Well, it was mullein, and I said, "Well,
Yeah.
it's probably because he has respiratory problems. Maybe has lung cancer and he doesn't even know it." And the plant is, the plant has so thoroughly taken over his whole yard that nothing
Yeah.
else grows but this plant, because the plant's trying to tell him something.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Now I'm not Christian, but there's a parable in the Bible. Is that the birds don't want, everything is there for us. All we have to do is ask. Now the asking is our body's frequency. So you don't have to worry because things will manifest. And this is a very, very difficult thing to understand, is that it will be delivered to you when you need it. But can you see it being delivered? And can you see the words of an omnipresent factor, all encompassing right in your yard when you've got lung cancer or you've got lung problems? And there's a weed growing there and everyone's saying, well, that's a terrible weed. It's because we're really not educated anymore about our natural environment. So, better mow his lawn, and the guy goes and gets pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, or the neighbor calls the pesticide company and sprays
Yes.
his yard for him, right? Because they're tired of looking at the weeds, and so now everybody in the neighborhood has cancer.
Exactly.
Trying to get rid of this weed that's trying to help the guy's lung cancer.
Exactly. So this is, and what you're saying is exactly that's shamanism. You look after the planet, you look after food, you grow food, you put your intentions in that. That's shamanism. My gosh, it's everywhere. It's prolific. It's like the weeds. We're all over the place.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, like, you don't have to go look for consciousness. Consciousness is around you all the time. It's just being able to be, like you said, in the present moment and moving gently and being able to see what is, gently being given back. I had a teacher once that said that the most power that you'll ever find in anything, if you need power for health, to generate power in your body, is always going to be the most humbling and also auspicious moments. And you have to slow yourself down, and you have to really be paying attention, witnessing everything in order to catch these moments.
Mm-mm.
Things that don't, those things that don't make sense, that kind of end up on our path. Those are the things that are bringing us the power in that moment, the power to, change our thought, the power to change the direction of our health, the power to have better relationships with other people, the power of whatever is needed, is brought to you and granted to you in that moment.
Mm. Exactly the truth. We've just got to recognize. Everybody has to learn to recognize their own. Everybody's functioning at a frequency, and everybody has to just recognize the frequency that they're in, so that they can open their eyes up to that. So you're watching something you can't see. You're listening to something you can't hear, and you're feeling something you can't touch. And this is shamanism. It's very, very obvious that it's socially an uncertain factor, because you've got to stop thinking before you can see what's not there. You've got to stop thinking until you can hear what's inaudible, and you've got to silently watch your breath going in and out to actually reverse all those factors. Make them something else different. It's just like Buddha. Buddha looks in. While Buddha looks in, he listens to everything. And he listens to everything and everybody else's voice, and doesn't have his own until he speaks from the heart, which is then a reflection of maybe what his devotees couldn't see, what his devotees couldn't feel. So he transmits that because he doesn't have the mind inside talking incessantly, convincing him of whatever it is that a Buddha is never convinced of, because the mind is not there. Only the heart and only the root of the tongue which goes to the heart. The nerves of the tongue go directly to the heart. Did you know that? It's an amazing thing. So when you speak from there, you begin to listen to what you're saying, and that's really just the wishes and dreams of his devotees as a Buddha. You know. Gosh dang.
Yeah. Well, no, it's like when I can feel you really get in your heart and really talking, it just really like relaxes my body and kind of I start drifting a little bit in the energy field. No, it feels great. It's like, oh. Okay, so I know this, for listeners, it's going to seem kind of a little bit kind of out there, but one of the things that has really been happening to me, like in the last 2 years, is that if I'm like in the moment, one of the things that I notice that everything has a vibrational frequency. For example, like the quieter I get, even when I'm in the shower, each shower head produces sounds. Like some shower heads have these beautiful, the way the water comes through, and you may not actually hear it on a physical level. But when you're quiet, you can hear it. So like there are certain shower heads at different people's shower, because I travel a lot. I kind of live out of my van. So I end up going to lots of different places all the time. And like, some shower heads are amazing. And I wonder if like the shower head manufacturers could really figure this out and get some sound techs, and do the vibrational, so that way you have a vibration that your water is making as it comes out of the shower head, because of the behind the scenes frequency that can help you produce what you need to produce. And so
you should patent that.
I know. I don't have time for that though. It's like I could just notice that it's happening. But I've gone to certain people's houses and I've listened to the showers, and I can hear like symphonies of, stringed instruments, or sometimes like gongs, and so I'm starting to notice, like, if I take a shower in the morning in a shower that has a shower head that's kind of, the frequency's off or the design is off, like it can make me really stressed out. And if I'm showering in a shower, where I feel like I'm hearing like heavenly, gongs and, stuff like that going on. And it's something that I just really noticed like in the last year. And so everything around us creates like this frequency, and a lot of the times we don't even really hear it, and it's having a serious effect on us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, would you like to add something to that, or?
Oh my gosh! I mean, the only thing I could really add to that is maybe the frequencies from Wi-Fi, are probably very, very dangerous. Because they resonate with parasites inside your body. So you actually, if your router is too close to you, you can actually, it will support your parasites, because the parasites run by a similar frequency. So it's very supportive for this. So if you've got any form of illness, it's a good idea to change your electrical grids and to get grounded and keep away from your router. There's been little experiments done with that too. It's like kids have put in some university some small plants near the router and some near the 10 or 15 feet away. Now the sprouts that were near the router just didn't grow. 75% of them were dead, and with the other ones only 10 feet away were thriving. So frequency can have a detrimental effect, and frequency can have a positive effect. So this is an unseen thing, and it's a very, very strong unseen thing. But what's even more equally as powerful is that the frequency from your heart, whenever you go into a room, it jumps around. And I'm talking to you at the moment. It jumps around and gets insecure. And as it gets insecure, what it's trying to do is find alignment. And if it can't find alignment, then if the person doesn't realize that that alignment can't manifest because the person can't find your frequency, then there's a disconnect. And this is happening a lot on our planet. Is that as people forgo their true alignment to actually find the heart frequency, and they get caught in something else. So when somebody like you goes into a circumstance and and you can't find alignment, it's got nothing to do with you. It's got to do everything to do with maybe the other people can't connect honestly with you. And this is what happens to a lot of people in terms of sound resonance. So when you if someone walks into the room and they're resonating violence, your body will withdraw very, very quickly because 100% that person is not good for you. If someone comes in the room and they're radiating a beautiful feeling, then your heart wants to connect. So the frequency, we've got an emitter right in the center of our chest that will connect or will try to find connection. Now, I'll give you a little story. I was cutting coconuts here, so I didn't want to put them on the floor and cut them around. So I tried another technique, which I shouldn't have done. I've been cutting coconuts for years, and it slipped and I cut my thumb. So I went to the hospital, and I got 7 stitches in my thumb. And as we were in the room where the doctor was going to give stitches, he said, he looked at my wife and he said, could you leave? And I said, no, she can't. She's not leaving. And he said, he said to her, would you mind leaving? And I said, no, she's not leaving. I need her here. And my heart was bouncing around in my chest. There were 3 other people in the room, and my heart was going boom, 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 boom. And I was trying to make a connection. And this guy was trying to get the only person in the room that has a pure connection with me, while he was going to, lift up my skin and look around my bone and everything like that. And I said, no. The 3rd time he asked, I said, no, she can't leave. She never leaves, and she won't leave. You have to accept that she's going to be in here because I need her because I'm injured. And when he came into the room, the cut had been there for 2 hours, and it was a very, very deep cut. And as soon as he came into the room, half of it got swollen within 5 or 6 seconds. Bleeded. And as soon as I said what I needed to say, he did what he needed to do, and I looked after it from then. And I wasn't willing to go back because I knew that the frequency that he was emitting, in terms of him needing so much control over his circumstances, wasn't healing, and it showed immediately in my hand. And this is the effect of frequency. This is an immediate effect. And as soon as we left, the swelling went down. Yeah, so it's So I have a heart connection with my wife, and my heart was literally bouncing out of my chest, trying to connect with the 3 people in the room, the 3 people who were supposed to take care of me. And they weren't aware that the only connection that I really had in terms of true healing was my wife sitting right next to me. And they were asking her to leave. How insane is that?
Yeah, well, their trait, this is one thing, without getting really negative, but, people have to understand is people living on the planet have been indoctrinated in divide and conquer.
Mm-mm.
And not making us feel better. And not allowing, them to feel better. I see it a lot. I had a private practice for like 18 years. And I'd even have doctors calling my practice, leaving me horrible messages, that, we're going to come get you, you know what I mean? Like threatening me, because their patients were, not because I was forcing it on them, but were choosing to choose a different path, something that had love and kindness. And recently, one of my teachers, a Shoshone medicine man, he got a 2nd round of cancer, and those are issues that he needs to deal with. But one of the things that he said to me was that, I'm going to take like 6 months off because I want to get into a space and a place where it's ease, it's effortless, where there's love and there's gentleness and there's kindness, to heal. I want to heal my cancer from that perspective, which is a totally different perspective than most people face. And when you're faced with you can't make a heart connection at the hospital or with your doctor, it causes a lot of confusion, and you're going to make decisions that you normally wouldn't make under those kinds of conditions, under threat.
Yeah, and this is basically really the whole thing about our communication is that you can see that there is a way to proceed in terms of kindness, and there's a way to proceed with kindness which isn't real, and if you can't connect with the kindness that isn't real, then you have to be as kind as possible to the person who isn't being real, and to be as true to them as possible. That's why I said no, I can't allow my wife to leave the room. And then I was very very jovial, but I could see what was going on with my body, and very very loving to them. But the fact was that that if that one thing was taken out of the room, my wife, who I love so dearly, then it would have been wouldn't have been any good, If it's but the thing is that intentions and the ramifications of realizing those intentions are crazy. There was nothing unkind projected towards him. I just felt unsafe. But the thing is that not going back also sends a message as well that I didn't feel secure or loved in that circumstance, which I needed to be. And this is a lesson that I really feel that everybody needs to learn on the planet, that we've become so disconnected. And and what you said previously is what would people expect from a shaman to slow you down, to be in a state of ease, so that you can see the dis-ease of your circumstance clearly enough to know that you have to walk away from it and go somewhere where you're nurtured and where you're really loved. And this is what we all really are craving. Yeah. So we've all got to stand our ground and being loving and as positive as possible, and to give a moment's pause to those people who can't take that moment's pause because of their programming. Yeah, it's a big job for everybody to turn this around.
Yeah. Okay. So I have another question from my secret friend. And he was asking how you would define aggression.
Oh.
For our listeners.
Wow. Anybody who has passive aggressive tendencies that look like they're being kind, but they're actually being resentful, that's aggression. Anything that is untruthful is aggression. A raised fist is really the last resort. A raised voice is really highly abusive. But aggression is all over our planet at the moment. And it's deeply embedded in people's behavior, and even just a glance. You know that when you look at somebody, you have to look at somebody with as much compassion and love as possible. But when you do that, you receive the frequency which may not be in accordance to that. That's violent. Anybody who speaks with an agenda that isn't in accordance with the true ebb and flow of the circumstance is being violent. And that violence shows itself in terms of wanting to control the real essence of that circumstance and not allow it to be the way it's meant to be.
Okay, so I have a question. I have a question now from my personal experience. Okay, yeah. So how would you handle? For example, I know that it's a frequency thing with me, but say. My whole life, not to evolve myself beyond people, but I've always had a higher consciousness. I've always been aware of things, and I've been able to see things and how they play out in ways that other people don't see. And so I have not had the ability, to leave the real world situation. I've had to learn how to hold my space and be who I am anyway against whatever else is happening. One of the things that people may face as they come more into honesty and more love dealing with, the outside world is it sometimes produces aggression from people or abuse or them trying to take things from you. When you're open and your heart's open and you're kind and you're loving, sometimes people will take it kind of as an animalistic thing, like some kind of sign of weakness that they can trample on you. Is there a way that, because sometimes you can't get them out of your space, sometimes they won't leave your space, and I think people would call, this kind of a situation like an energy vampire. Is there something that can be done? Is there like a practice or holding space, or you just have to learn how to hold your space regardless of what's going on?
Yeah. Now, you're talking about one of the very, very deep practices of Buddhism, Dzogchen Buddhism. Any form of shamanism has this particular practice deeply within it. Now, if you're in a circumstance where you have somebody that's being mean or cruel, you have to find a routine of consistency that you are forewarned by being treated in a certain way and given signals inside of yourself. So you have to realize that the violence or the tendency of the person is not wholesome, but you can't judge them. The minute you judge them, you pay into that particular energy because you're causing your cause and effect factor, and you're separating yourself. So if the person needs a certain thing, you give it to them. And you continually do what is necessary in terms of being appropriately in every moment the way that you should be, and that means that you can't hold any feelings of resentment. You have to be fully within your heart without being attached to what they're doing, and the only way that they can really get to you is when you're affected. So you have to get yourself to a point where that you will see what they're doing. And you can see the routine of what they're doing is not wholesome. So you've distanced yourself by being kind to that person. Distance yourself by being kind to the person. Unless there's a possibility of talking about, hey, look, this is not really good. And you talk directly, but you have to make very, very strong decisions in terms of the strategy of not awakening a larger tiger by talking to the smaller tiger, which is bearing its claws. You don't know whether there's a pack of tigers surrounding them because they've organized it. So you have to be very, very aware. But a lot of the way that I've dealt with these types of circumstances as a young man when I was growing up. I would always be one step ahead of what they needed, these type of people. And not that it was in any way manipulative. It was because being one step ahead showed that my organization, in terms of the circumstance, created the situation where they couldn't be mean because I was one step ahead. So then they began to trust me and began to treat me with respect because I was always there before they got there. So if you can be ahead of the person because you know exactly what they're going to do instead of waiting for them to do it and saying, well, they're doing it again, be ahead of them and then create a bond with them in terms of being so totally loyal to what they want from you, because they're going to get it either way. So you turn the tables, and then they end up seeing that there's no real reason to be aggressive and to be the way that they're going to be. This has happened to me many times in my life. Being loyal and being efficient and seeing what they need before they need it is something which turns a very aggressive person into your friend.
I was sitting here thinking that it's either you and I are so identical in how we've dealt with things. Like, that's one of the approaches that I've used. is giving them what they want, being efficient and organized. And so I'm like thinking, okay, two things are happening here. Either he's mirroring you and he's telling you exactly who you are, or you are alike. And it's like, wow. I mean, some of the things that just come out of your mouth are
Okay.
things that
Yeah, yeah. No.
I that I haven't been able to put words to. And it's
Yeah.
like, like I'm just shocked. Like right now, my heart is like,
Yeah.
beating pretty heavily. There's a big
Mm.
kind of release going on.
Yeah. You know, the most powerful thing you can do is to reflect the reality and the truths of somebody else's voice that hasn't been able to be spoken, by repeating exactly who they are and by being exactly yourself in that moment. So the only gift for me in this particular circumstances is this has happened to me all my life, and it's probably happened to you and to most of the listeners, that you'll end up finding out you've done something and you've said something that somebody wanted to hear and needed to hear, only because you were open enough to speak it and not even know that you've said it, because nobody has given you the response to say, hey, what are you doing and how in the hell did you do that? And why did you go turn that light bulb on? Or, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And when honesty is truly on the table, then you discover that the frequencies and the bond that we have as human beings, because we don't know each other for very long yet, but there seems to be an eternal thread between every single human being that can speak the truth and knows the inner reality of somebody else, if they're truly within their own heart's reality. And this will always you will always find your voice in somebody else's words. And this is a real gift for everybody, and that's what shamanism truly is.
Well, okay. So I want to go back to, well, I see like a really psychological damaging thing that happens in America, and I'm sure it happens other places, but it's a really significant, and it was based on kind of what you said that kind of led me to talk about this. But there's this hoarding that is going on in the United States that is just epic. Like, I just don't really understand it at all. But it goes back to that thing about, well, the Indians have stories about it, about the deer who actually cursed humans, mostly the white humans, for taking too much, and that the disease would be rheumatism. So when you take too much, murdering too many animals, like the deer, and taking more than you need, then you would be marked with rheumatism, right? As the feedback. But it goes back to that whole thing about the Jesus's robe, who's touching my robe, who's taking, why don't you just ask me for it and I'll give it to you? Would you like to talk a little bit about maybe how people can get out of this, shopping, hoarding way of life, and maybe be able to, ask more for what they need than to actually take it?
Yeah, this is a really difficult one, because there's a corporate program that's been going on for generations now, to program people to want things that they don't really need. This is a really, really big thing, and indigenous people know that you don't really need as much as what we've got. We really don't. And gosh, there's nothing I can really say. If you go to your attic and clean your attic out and give away what you don't use, then you'll realize how much you've got in your house that you don't need because you don't use it. But it's kind of like a disease to want to have too much. And exactly what you say, and the disease ends up like pain in the bones. What holds us up then makes us fall down, because we're taking too much. And the way that the Mother Nature is reflected in our bodies is illness. And what can I say?
Yeah, it can manifest. I don't think a lot of people understand that. Like, they target the psychological mental and emotional part of the illness, but a lot of people don't realize that it actually reflects into the physical body.
Yeah.
My teacher, he said that when we heal our cancer in our body by doing the things that we need to do, then it heals the cancer in that specific area on the earth.
Yeah.
And so if you're, hoarding all this stuff, that meridian is blocked, like the meridians that run through your system. It's a blocked energy, and it has to be cleared. And it correlates with what's sick in your body.
Mm-hmm. It comes down, I hear what you're saying, but it really comes down to dishonesty in terms of being programmed through maybe 2 or 3 generations at the moment to believe that we need the things we don't need. This is a really big thing, and it's right from the very beginning. Indigenous people haven't never been understood. The waters must be kept clean. The earth must be kept clean. Your food comes from the earth and the water. The skies have to be kept clean. If you don't do this, then there'll be consequences. And those consequences are that we won't understand what we're doing because we haven't got our hands dirty by taking our root vegetables out with our fingers. It's very, very important for us to be in contact. And if we're not in contact, then we become greedy. And it's much easier to be satisfied when your hands are dirty and you're full of dust from a hard day's work picking your vegetables or doing what you have to do on the land. There's very, very difficult for people to understand that have been brought up in an environment where they've just been in a box watching television. But you can bring them back by just getting them to commune with themselves. And that's really the only way to teach them, really, is to get them back to the heart, so they actually see that what they've got too many clothes, too many shoes, and way too much hoarding going on, which is baggage. Yeah, I don't know whether I can answer you. I don't know whether I can really answer your question. It's such a complex thing in terms of how we've been collectively programmed to want more than what we really need, and there's so many people living in compressed environments on top of each other, and it's very difficult to say, put your hands in the earth. And our kids don't even know where their food comes from anymore, and they don't know that the animals are tortured before they get onto their plate. It's just it's horrendous what's going on. The animal's life should be respected, so that we can. It should be very rare that we eat the meat of an animal, unless it's a true gift. And generations of people now don't understand that. Oh, I can't hear you.
I took some homemade pickles over to from a garden, organically, jarred, to a friend of mine. And she's an adult, she's like 70. And she said to me, why are there cucumbers in the jar? And I said, because they're pickles. And she said, well, where's the pickles? And I said, cucumbers, when you pickle them, are pickles. And I was kind of blown away by that, because it seems like such a simple thing that most people would know, but they don't, because they don't actually, take the stuff out of their own garden and watch it grow and make things out of it. Like, not everybody has small cucumbers like the type of pickles that you get in the store that are chopped up. And sometimes your cucumbers are bigger, sometimes they're smaller, sometimes they're different varieties. So when you make them on your own, I guess they look considerably different. But she kind of looked at me fraudulently, like I was trying to pull something on her, like.
But
so I thought that was
conscious, like the question you asked about re-education. It's hunters and gatherers are very unusual people, because they get up and they haven't got a supermarket to go to. They've got to go and find their food, and every single situation that they're in is always different. So they have to look in a different spot every day. It's not in a supermarket. It's not from point A to point B, and then you don't hunt for your food in the supermarket. So it's very difficult to get somebody who shops in a supermarket to realize that intelligence grows by adapting to your circumstance, because your food is in a different spot, and you have to be aware of your environment. And by being aware of your environment, you become connected. And you can't become connected in the supermarket in the same way. So to a coveted society, it's very difficult for someone to realize they can go that's not hungry because they can go straight there and get their food. You get hungry when you're hunting or gathering. You do get hungry, so you appreciate what you find. And this appreciation is shared within your small community because you had to work for it. And this working for it is much more enjoyable than 8 hours sitting on a computer. So it's a very, very strange future that we're heading towards, really, when you look at it from that perspective.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I realize, like, about my work is that I'm leading people back to Earth as a spiritual process. For centuries we were trained to, travel through the ethers and go there and that. And I've worked with a lot of evolved people who have cancer in their body because they worked on these practices of being able to go traveling to other worlds, and they can't figure out why their body has cancer. And it's like, well, your body's attached to the Earth, and in order for you to be here, you have to actually start feeding it properly. You have to have certain meals. You can't just be gone for 3 days and then come back to your body and expect your body to be functioning well. Because it also has a relationship to microbes, in your process, because your body's no different than soil. So it has to be constantly getting some microbial information to help keep the microbes alive that build everything within your system, and also keep the bad bacteria out, keep the bad viruses out, and keep it strengthened. So I think, like what you're saying, I think we're needing to actually return back to Earth, right? And get back into a relationship with what the Earth provides and all the systems and all the living beings on this planet. Otherwise, things are not going to go very well.
That's really true. That's really true. We have to get back to that connection. And we have to do it individually and then hopefully collectively.
Yeah. Okay, so I could talk to you for months straight.
Okay.
But we kind of have to end the show.
Okay.
And then we can talk by email and stuff like that. And I just really appreciate you saying yes to being interviewed. And, I'd really like to have you back on the show sometime when you feel like it's right and perfect. I know that people are going to be emailing me, asking me when you're coming back. When is Luhan coming back? When's he coming back?
Whenever you want me to.
I'm gonna be like, I know, I miss Luhan too. So I always try to leave my listeners with a weekly spiritual practice of some kind, a simple practice that they could do daily, that's not too difficult, and there's not too many components to it, so that they can sit down or stand up or do whatever it is in order to for the next week, something to try. And then they can notice if they have a change or a difference, or they have a new thought or something happens in their body. So could you offer them in our final minutes here a spiritual practice or something to hold their intention and focus for a certain amount of time in the day?
Okay, it's very simple and it won't take very long. I mean, all you've got to do is, instead of looking outwardly, look inwardly at the feelings that arrive inside of you. Instead of thinking a thought, listen to your environment 100%. So you look inwardly 98%, because your eyes are going to touch the world very, very lightly. So that's touch the world like a feather with your eyes, so you don't be heavy. You look inwardly toward your heart, and then you listen to all the sounds around you simultaneously. And while you're listening to the sounds around you, the way you really turn your internal dialogue off so you can truly commune with yourself is to breathe so softly that you can't hear it. And when you look inside and listen outside, when you watch your breath going in and out and you do it inaudibly, you do it so you can't hear it, and you go to watch it and you can't see it. You go to listen to it and you can't hear it. And you will hear everything around you and begin to see everybody inside of you. And all you've got to do, once you understand your eyes are inward, your ears are externally bound, all you've got to do is just realize the only technique you need is to stop yourself, is to listen to what you can't hear. So you begin to breathe so softly and so gently that you arrive immediately in the place that you're always abiding in, your heart. That's it.
Excellent. I did that while you were talking about it. It felt so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
And thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you're part of my family now. Because, my family has all kind of passed over since for a while now. So I look at acquiring new people into my new family. Unfortunately, you're very far away. So, but we'll connect on the energetic level and through other means, and we'll definitely have you back on the show. And thank you so much for taking time out in your day. And I just want listeners to know that, it's not very often that you come across people who are spiritually sound, that are who they participate in being. And Luhan is 100% authentic and loving and caring and super fun. It's been like we're little kids, doing scientific projects together and laughing and giggling the whole time. So it's just been a real joy and a pleasure to have you on my show. And that's all I have. And I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
And so that you can move on with your day, and we'll reconnect at another time.
Okay, look forward to it. And it's been really lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Luhan. Bye-bye.